Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular board meeting of the Board of Education for San Diego School District. Today is Monday, November the 15th, 2021. It is 7 p.m. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Dominguez to do the roll call to establish our quorum.
Anastasia Dominguez, present. Billy Espino,
Present.
Lo Garcia,
Here.
Freddy Martinez,
Here.
Andy Rivera, Sandra Rivera,
Here.
Ursula Sanchez.
Here.
This meeting has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. This time I'm going to ask Mr. Garcia to lead us in our pledges of allegiance, followed by our invocation by Dr. Zamora.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to gather here this evening. We kindly ask that you look after the Fort Stockton community, our great state, and continue to guide us in the right path. Grant us the wisdom to make the best decision for this district. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
This time going into item 2, the open forum and public comments. We did not have anyone sign up for that. At this time, item 3, staff reports. Dr. Zamora.
Sir, we have our principals here with some students of the month. I think it would be wise to allow them to go through and knock out those introductions. If we can start with our high school, please. Mr. Alvarado.
Dr. Zamora, Mr. Espino, members of the board, thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. We'll kick it off with our high school student of the month. This individual has been going above and beyond the general curriculum this year and many years prior. As of this week, he has begun participation in NASA's Texas Aerospace Scholarships Program. This has led him to motivate himself to learn calculus, physics, computer science, all on his own and outside of the general curriculum. In addition, he's also represented our school at the October Math Bowl, our state competitions in TAME, and regionals in academic UIL. Musically, he has also advanced to area and state, playing his trumpet in the traditional and jazz band settings. This individual is being recognized for his academics and his motivation. 11th grader Fernando Corrales, please come and be recognized. All right. Hold on, Nathan, let me get seated real quick.
Good evening. Our middle school student of the month for the month of November is Mr. Ethan Nunez. He is not able to be with us this evening. He participates in middle school athletics in our 8th grade boys basketball team traveled to Seminole tonight. However, I have just a little short description about Ethan and why he was chosen as our November student of the month. Ethan is an all-around outstanding student with an upbeat personality. He is enrolled in honors classes for all core area subjects. He is a percussionist in the middle school symphonic band and participates in various sports through our middle school athletic program. He displays a strong work ethic, respect, and kindness towards others, and he is a leader in the classroom as well as a leader among his peers. And so I will be presenting this to him on campus tomorrow.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to change gears for just a little bit. Our recipient at intermediate this year, or this month, is Leslie Burrola. Leslie es una estudiante que siempre busca la perfección. Ella ha demostrado habilidades cívicas al ayudar a sus compañeros, no solo durante el tiempo de clase, sino también durante el recreo. Ella es apasionada de su aprendizaje. Ella siempre está buscando un reto. Además, Leslie ha demostrado ser una gran mentor y ayuda a sus estudiantes que la rodean. Por último, el comportamiento de Leslie siempre es excepcional. Ella cumple con las expectativas y las modela para los restos de los estudiantes. Así es que este mes queremos reconocer a Leslie y gracias por estar. Por favor, pasa para enfrente. And just so everyone knows, I did that so her parents could understand. She is fluent in English. She is competing for UIL this week. I mean, she's an awesome student. She's all around. But I did that so her parents could understand why she was being recognized.
Bien hecho.
Congratulations.
Good evening. It is Alamo Elementary's turn. Tonight, our November Student of the Month is going out to Cato Jerry May. Cato is a very kind, polite, and driven person. These are 3 words that describe this young man. When a student hit him in the hallway, Cato replies, "That's okay. He's probably just having a bad day." It's a true story, Grandpa. Every morning you can hear him greeting the staff. "Good morning. Literally, good morning. How are you today?" Eye contact and everything. When I subbed for him in his classroom, Cato had finished his work and asked me, "May I write you a short story?" I answered, "Yes, Cato." Cato came back with a short story about an octopus who was lost in the city of New York, was hungry, ate pizza and corn dogs. This story came complete with a summary on the back and an illustration of an octopus holding some pizza and some corn dogs. He's a very smart student. He's going to be representing 3rd grade at UIL on Wednesday. He is very, very kind and polite, like I mentioned earlier. He works very, very hard at everything he does. And with that said, Alamo is very, very proud to present this award to Cato Jerry May. That's a cute smile.
Welcome, everyone. For Apache Elementary, our student of the month for November is Larry Urbano. Larry is an extremely shy student, and although his voice and stature are small, his determination is huge. This year, he has made many new friends because of his loving nature. We have seen tremendous progress in his academics and know that will only continue. He loves coming to school and he has perfect attendance. Thank you, Larry, for your hard work. We appreciate it.
Fantastic stuff. Great job, kiddos. We've reached the part of the meeting where we kind of allow anybody who would like to excuse themselves now that the fantastic part is over. And we start getting down to business. So parents and students, while you are welcome to stay, this is an appropriate time to where you would like to move along to depart. Thank you all for coming. With that, I'll move on to my report, sir.
Okay? So we'll give you all a few minutes unless you all want to stay like nothing so much. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate y'all's support. Coach, you got your running back right there. That's right.
Sir, for my report, the main thing that I have is I want to congratulate Coach Peters and the Panthers for making history for Fort Stockton ISD. Their victory on Friday was tremendous, and I hope that they can perform as well as they did this coming Friday. Because of the game and the location, we did make the decision early in the morning to make Friday into an early dismissal day, with 1 p.m. being the release time for our students. Did have a meeting earlier today with all the administrators, and they know that they can still utilize time after that. Coach Peters and Dr. Spirit are planning a send-off for our boys who will be departing sometime around 1:30, Coach.
Yes, sir.
And so probably in those 15 to 20 minutes prior is when they'll have it organized. Mr. Alvarado will be involved as well to watch the boys who will be leaving prior to the band and the cheerleaders depart. And because of the distance involved, we also have pushed forward with getting a fan bus lined up with the stipulation of, in order of merit, who is most eligible to go on that bus, and that has been communicated to the principals and other administrators as well. So barring any questions, that completes my report. Some of these I'm sure Coach Peters could probably answer better than I.
What time is that bus going to depart?
That's probably going to be, I would imagine, 2:30 or 3. To make, they're going straight to the stadium, so there's not a whole lot of, they don't need a whole lot of extra time.
That's a good opportunity for
Yes.
people to go.
Awesome.
That's good, Coach.
Awesome,
Great.
awesome.
Congrats to you.
Good luck.
Hey, thank you, thank you.
Milestone.
Next, any questions for our business manager? If not, the assistant superintendents and athletic director.
I do have we finished up a couple of our sports, so with our cross country, we did have 2 participants at the state meet. Fabian Perez on the boys' side finished 21st out of 150, and then Allie Jackson on the girls' side, she finished 52nd out of 150. So well done for those 2. Volleyball all districts been released. Our first team, Eliana Mata and Aliana Dominguez, both first team selections. Ivana Ortiz was a second team selection. Ariel Smith, Brianna Flores, and Sofia Hernandez were all honorable mention picks. And then we have Catherine Mendoza, Eliana Mata, Ivana Ortiz, Brianna Flores, and Ariana Gonzalez. They were all academic all districts. So girls had a good season. I really had some improvement there, and we had quite a few show there on the postseason awards. So congratulations to them.
Good. Good. Anything else? No?
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
I know this has been an issue, but we had a basketball meeting with the coaches, right? I mean, the coach. And they did not allow certain color of tennis shoes, basketball shoes. My thing was that he kept stating that it was policy. I haven't seen no policy, so I have not signed that paperwork, me as a parent. And I'm just wondering why that decision was made that they could not wear the tennis shoes that we had already purchased for them because they had to be certain colors. We weren't notified until the meeting, which is like a couple of days ago. I just have that concern.
Well, I mean, that's going to be 100% up to the coach. I mean, I don't see a reason to wear shoes that aren't school colored in the first place. So I agree with that on his part. You know, secondly on that, you know, you got to wait and, you know, got to make sure you make the team and all those things so people to go out and buy them prior to, you know, they may not have even made the team. So that's something I think that the coaches have worked through with allowing them to play with those I know tonight and in the so that they can have some time to go ahead and get those changed before their next game, which I don't believe their next game is till after the Thanksgiving break. I think we play this Monday, we're off the next Monday, then the following Monday we'll play again. So.
No, I mean, I was just.
No, and it's not policy.
Yeah, I mean, but they kept stating policy. I asked, I questioned, where's the policy? Because there's no policy, but, of course, they didn't have that answer either, so. And of course, after that, everybody was coming to me like, y'all have it on policy, and I'm like,
That's not part of our athletic policy. However, that can be any part of any coach's, you know, team policies for the year. Then that may change year to year. You know, that's not something that they have to stick to. But if that's something they think is important to them, then that's what we're gonna roll with.
What color were the shoes?
Huh?
What color were the shoes?
I mean, my son likes bright color shoes, but they only want black, white, gray, or blue.
Or a combination of
Or
those.
combination. They can't be
I've
black
seen
with
teal,
the,
red, yellow. I
yeah.
like yellow. I like orange.
But was that like, had they already had the team meeting? Then the coaches hadn't had a meeting yet?
We already knew who was on the team.
So they had already had a practice and stuff like that?
No. But we already knew who was on the A and B team. So we went ahead and bought our team shoes.
No, but like before, like the parent meeting, I guess, where they tell you
We
that?
just had the parent meeting not too long ago, so.
On all fairness, Sandy, they've never done that before. They never have.
No, I know,
They
that's
say
fine.
That's probably why parents went and bought it. And I, for one, I'm fine with it. But like Coach Harold's policy was not to let the girls off to go get lunch. And at first I said, well, hey, that's good. And I saw the boys, whatever, but it was her, she wanted her
Correct.
girls focused. So that was great. And I understand, so, yeah.
That's one of those things that's probably a huge inconvenience, but I think moving forward, everybody will have that understanding. And that's been discussed in our coaches' meetings as well about making sure we get that information out well in time for those things
Yes,
to happen.
that's-
That could have been, you know, addressed during football season towards the end, you know. If y'all are interested in coming out for the basketball team, these are some of them.
Yeah,
We've already discussed that as a staff thing, so.
Okay.
And we've got a couple more other sports like tennis, track, and softball, that we've got new coaches in those positions, so they have
Yes.
policies maybe
Correct.
communicated better.
We've had those discussions already, so
Yeah.
hopefully that stuff will be out in plenty of time for the next one.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Next item is the consent agenda. The board has been furnished with background materials on each item and/or it has been discussed at a previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote per category. Items may be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items will be adopted by one vote per category. Items withdrawn for separate discussion will be acted upon individually. We have A, the minutes, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting of October 18, 2021, and B, October check register. Any questions, comments on those? If not, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda, A and B.
We have a motion by Nacho to accept the items A and B. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Fred. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. 7-0. Next item is discussion and information. Dr. Samar?
Yes, sir. The first thing that we have up is the initial assessment for our 2020 census data for redistricting of Board of Trustees election districts. And via Zoom, we have Sarah Leon and Associates who will be conducting a portion of the presentation. How are you, Ms. Sarah?
On mute.
Is it muted on her end?
Yeah, see right there.
That's because I was muted. How's that now?
Good.
Thank you so much for allowing me to appear by Zoom tonight. It will save the district some money, and I was in Fort Stockton passing through last Thursday, so traveling to West Texas more than once a week is a little hard. We've received the information from the Census Bureau regarding the population of Fort Stockton ISD, and I would like to just kind of go over that information with you all. If I can share my screen. Are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we've done the initial assessment, which is basically recreating your existing single member district boundaries and putting on top of them the census information from the 2020 census. And the results are that District 7 is overpopulated. So ideally, every trustee district or ward would have about 1,900 people in it to be evenly balanced. District 7 has almost 2,900 people in it, and District 1 has only 1,473 people in it. That's a 74% deviation between the largest and the smallest district. The constitutional limit is 10% deviation. So you are substantially unbalanced, and you will need to redistrict to meet the one person, one vote mandate of the United States Constitution. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what that will look like. So basically, we start with the census geography, which is the building block that we use for drawing election districts. The Census Bureau divides your jurisdiction into smaller units that we call census blocks. They may look like a city block, or they may be larger, particularly in less populated areas. And then census blocks are aggregated into a larger units called voting tabulation districts, which often correspond with county election precincts. There's basically three legal principles that govern the redistricting process. The first is one person, one vote. That is, that there's roughly equal population in each of the election districts. The second legal principle is the Non-Discrimination Mandate under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which basically says that we cannot adopt an election system that abrogates the right of individuals to vote. And then the third is the Shaw versus, and I should say, it abrogates the right of minority voters to vote. And then the Shaw versus Reno line of cases from the United States Supreme Court says that while we may use race and consider race as a factor in redistricting, it cannot be a predominant factor. And so those are the three legal principles that we sort of balance in looking at redrawing single member districts. So one person, one vote is pretty simply no more than 10% maximum deviation between the largest district and the smallest district. And we use the target or ideal population, which is just your total population divided by the number of election districts. The Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act prohibits any voting practice that has the purpose or the effect of discriminating against minority citizens. And so we try to look at whether by making a change, are we making it more difficult for minority voters to elect a candidate of choice, either by dividing communities of interest or by packing minority communities into a single district to dilute the impact of their vote over the jurisdiction as a whole. And that, again, is Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And then finally, in Shaw versus Reno in 1993, the United States Supreme Court said that, anytime we use race as a factor in making a decision, we have to be very careful that we are not using that as a predominant factor in making a governmental decision. So we can consider race and the impact of the district boundaries on the election strength and the ability of racial minority groups to elect a candidate of choice. We can't use that as a sole or predominant factor in making redrawing our districts. So the general principles that guide the redistricting process is that while race may be considered, it may not be the predominant factor to the subordination of other traditional redistricting principles. An oddly shaped district is not unconstitutional per se, but it may provide evidence that an impermissible factor such as race was the predominant consideration in drawing the district. And that's where you hear a lot about, gerrymandering and drawing unusual shaped districts. If the body decides to use race as a significant or predominant factor, it may do so only to the extent it is narrowly tailored to address a compelling governmental interest, such as compliance with the Voting Rights Act. And if the plan is narrowly tailored, it will use race no more than is necessary to address that compelling governmental interest. I have on the agenda for the board tonight to consider adoption of redistricting criteria. And these are traditional redistricting criteria that would guide the drawing of new single-member trustee districts. And these are just traditional redistricting factors, using identifiable geographic boundaries, making sure we maintain communities of interest, such as neighborhoods or other, local communities, using whole voting precincts where possible, basing the new plan on your existing plan, making sure the districts are approximately equal in size. The districts should be drawn to the extent possible in a manner that's compact and contiguous. We want to make sure that the trustees are not drawn out of their districts because you've been elected to represent those districts. And we're going to narrowly tailor the plan to comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act. Tonight, I'm just introducing the topic. We are not going to look at any plans tonight. I would like to get some guidance from the board, though, whether you want to have a workshop. You will need to have a public hearing, at least one public hearing or more if you would prefer, before adopting a plan. And then we'd like to adopt the plan by January 19th, which is the first date to apply for a position on the ballot for the May 2022 election. So that's kind of where we are tonight. I'd like to show you your existing plan real quick. This is your existing single-member district plan. And it does have, nice, compact, contiguous districts. Most of your population is located in the Fort Stockton municipal area. And so that's where we're seeing the changes in population that require redistricting. If we look on the bottom, and I believe this is in your packet, hone in on the population tabulation at the bottom, you'll see that your deviation is 74.36%. So you can see single member trustee district 1 has only 1,473 persons, while an ideal population for that would be 1,906. And then you've got District 7 is significantly overpopulated with 2,890 persons, and it's over 1,000 people too population heavy. So when we use our traditional redistricting criteria, we're going to try to work with your existing districts, but as you can see, we are going to have to make some substantial changes, particularly to districts 1 and 7. And so that may change the way your districts look. And so what I would ask for the board to do tonight is to adopt criteria for redistricting. And I've proposed some suggested language that will provide us with guidance in drawing the new single-member trustee districts. It will also provide the court with guidance on the criteria that the district use in case there is a legal challenge. And then I'd like to get some guidance from the board as to whether you would like to have a workshop to try to draw districts, and if so, when you would like to have that happen. Again, the census data was released very late this year, as you all know, and the state has not given us additional time in which to complete redistricting, so it should have been released in April. It wasn't released until almost September, and so we have a very compressed period of time in which to make a decision, in which to redraw the boundaries. What I would recommend is that I come to you at your next meeting with 2 or 3 sample plans that would balance your districts, and then get feedback from y'all. And if you have strong feelings about getting access to the redistricting software and kind of playing with that yourselves, I would recommend we have a workshop in which to do that. Are there any questions?
Well, I think we need to have a meeting, but I don't know that it needs to be part of the regular board meeting, because this is going to be a lengthy process for quite a bit of things to look at. And you're going to present that to us, right? That's what I understood.
Right. We just received the initial assessment from the demographer on Friday of last week. So we're paddling as quickly as we can, given the fact that all of the school districts that have single member districts and counties and hospital districts and so forth have to go through the same process. I agree with you that if you want to have a workshop, it would be better to do that outside of the regular board meeting and set aside some time to really look at it.
I'm hearing Wednesdays would be a better date for just about everybody here. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, and there's not ever going to be a good day, but you okay? Is Wednesday okay for everybody? Doctor, I mean, we don't have much time if we got to get things done by January the 19th.
I agree, sir. The main thing, Sarah, is that we get that public hearing in. I want to say the workshop is something that we can put together, and even if you participate via Zoom, can still be done in that fashion, right? Once the information is put out, but the public hearing would most likely be beneficial to take place before a regular meeting.
Right, so the public hearing, depending on how you want to take input, we could, the minimum public hearing would be to take public comments immediately prior to adopting a plan. That would be the minimum. You may decide you want to have a separate public hearing to take comments. One thing that we can do to increase the public awareness and solicit comments would be to, as soon as I can get a couple of draft plans together, I can submit them to you and you can post them on the website so that if people want to make comments, they have some idea of what possible, plans might be. In my experience, once we have a sample plan that's balanced, it's usually a matter of minor changes as opposed to, drawing all, from scratch. So it may take less time than you think.
Ask a question real quick. To balance these things out, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask, but to balance it out, to have four wards and then 3 at large, is that something that could be worked out, or would that help if it's possible?
That's a really good question. That is legally permissible. Your population as a whole is predominantly Hispanic. I think it's 70-some% Hispanic. And so if you dial back the number of single member trustee districts, you will still be able to have, good representation from the Hispanic voters. So a 4-3 plan would be doable for sure.
Depends on who votes, though, too. When you look at the voting pattern, it's not the Hispanics that are voting.
Well, anyway, what we need to look at is dates and time. So if you're looking at Wednesdays, what are we looking at? You want to go November the 24th? No, I'm kidding. Too many turkeys here.
So if we did like early December?
The first?
Yes.
Did that give you enough time to get everything together?
It will. We'll make that work.
Yeah.
That's Wednesday, December 1st. And what I'll plan to do is come to that meeting with at least a sample plan that balances your current trustee districts, and then maybe a 4-2, 4-3, or a 5-2 plan, just so you could see what that would look like.
I think we need to go with the ward system and just go for that. Just see what your population is going to be, what your lines look like. Is that all right? So December the 1st? Is that good? And then we'll go from there on other stuff, another date? What time do we need to go on the 1st? What time on the 1st? What? 6 o'clock?
The earlier the better.
6 p.m. okay?
6 or earlier.
Or 5.
6 o'clock is fine. Fred, 6 o'clock is good for you. Nacho, 6. That's what. 6. And 6 o'clock on the 1st.
6 o'clock on the 1st. I'll plan to be there in person, and I can bring some large maps. I think it helps to really be able to hold the maps in your hand and have to look at things on the screen. So we'll plan on being there at 6 p.m. on December 1st.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Sir, next up we have Park Hill
Okay.
with their presentation. Hopefully, I think we have, is it Michael that's been waiting?
Yes, sir. Michael Howard.
Very good. This is the presentation regarding the facilities analysis for the district that was ordered a couple of months ago now. Michael, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Zamora. It's great to be with you, members of the board. As Dr. Zamora said, the presentation tonight will give you an executive summary of our findings of a facility needs assessment that we've been working on for the last few months. Let me back up and just introduce myself real quick. My name is Michael Howard. So I'm an architect with the architecture and engineering firm Park Hill. We began our work, I believe, in August by sending out a team of architects and engineers and specialists in technology and security to walk your facilities and study needs related to really facility condition and potential upgrades to your facilities to bring them up to what we would consider a standard or a good standard care for an educational facility. So I'm going to share my screen. This is a dashboard that presents really a summary of our findings by breaking down into each building system by system, a summary of the costs to address the repairs and system replacements that are beyond their useful life. So if you look at the right side of the screen, you can see the total sum of square feet of your facilities is just over 1 million square feet. And the average age is a little over 40 years. So, most facilities, when they hit, or particularly in schools, when they hit 20 to 25 years, need somewhat of a refresh or renewal just to take care of things like paint and carpet and the things that wear out due to abuse by students. Once they reach a little over 40 years, there tends to need to be a more major overhaul to take care of systems, and at around the 60-year mark, they may need to be considered to be replaced. So you have facilities that range from just a few years old to over 80 years old. So along each facility's life cycle, obviously things are taken care of and your maintenance department makes repairs and upgrades. And so just because a facility is 80 years old doesn't mean it needs to be replaced. It all depends on what you've been able to invest in your facilities over time. So our job was to go in and really take a look at, again, system by system, what we felt needed immediate attention. So what you're seeing on the left side of the screen is sort of the system by system breakdown of how we look at a facility. So the architects look at things like roofing and the exterior envelope, which is the exterior shell, things like exterior doors and windows that might need to be replaced, and also interior construction such as flooring finishes and paint finishes, ceiling finishes, and all the other furnishings that may be within the facility. We also send out a team of mechanical engineers because typically in any facility assessment, we see that the highest need is typically either roofing or HVAC systems. So our mechanical engineers looked at things like fire protection and life safety systems, such as fire sprinklers, plumbing fixtures, obviously HVAC units, electrical and lighting, and then fire alarm. And then lastly, we sent out a team of technology and security specialists to look at potential upgrades to things like security systems, security cameras, intrusion detection and access control through the facilities, but also infrastructure related items for telecommunications and cabling. They looked at wireless networks that needed access points, as well as wired LAN networks. They looked at voice over IP or communication systems, and then finally AV and other multimedia systems that really serve as instructional technology. So a lot of those things don't exist right now in your schools. So they made recommendations of what they would budget to put them into your schools. So these totals are the sum of costs across the district portfolio of the type of replacement costs to take care of the systems that are beyond useful life. So the number one need was in mechanical systems at just under $5 million, followed by wall finishes and electrical. Mechanical systems, I'm going to select that just so you can kind of see how that breaks down. Obviously, the larger facilities have greater needs. So the high school was at 1.5 million, middle school at 1.6, but that gives you an idea of kind of where we saw the greater needs. The total of the architectural costs was 17.5 million for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and the fire protection, 11.5. Technology was at around 10,400,000. So these are rough order of magnitude costs to help you take care of these things across the district. To give you an idea of which facilities are in better or worse shape, we apply a simple metric. We call it an FCI, which stands for Facility Condition Index, which essentially is taking the sum total of the needs across the facility and dividing a number into a replacement cost. So it ends up giving you a percent between 0 and 100. It essentially tells you how far along the building is in its system life cycle. So the higher the number means it's got more need compared to its replacement cost. So Butts Alternative School had the greatest needs. Obviously, it's one of the older facilities, so it's in one of the worst conditions, followed by the Technology Center and the Intermediate School. The ones that were really in the best shape were Alamo, the Transportation Facility, and the Special Event Center, which are newer facilities. So everything totaled up $39 million. That is, of course, the total need today. If nothing is addressed, then that number would, over the years, continue to grow. But that's a number we would suggest budgeting as a starting point as you start to consider your next steps, which might be a capital improvement program that could be funded through a bond program or some other funding mechanism. So really the takeaway from all this information is that this is the data you need to start building sort of a long-term facility master plan toward, again, a capital improvement program or a bond program. So that's the high-level summary. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for me?
Mike, I think that the question that I have in my mind is, where's the rest of the facilities? This looks like the same draft that I sat through on the 26th, and the same number.
Yes, sir. Just so the board's aware, the Doctors of Board did give us some additional facilities to look at, and we have not prepared those numbers for you tonight, Dr. Zamora. So this is just an update of where we're at today on the core educational facilities. The other facilities that Dr. Zamora is referring to are some athletic facilities at the high school, the field house, as well as the bus barn and the maintenance building. And there's a few others, the Comanche School, Alamo Rec Center, including some of these facilities that are no longer in use by the district.
My question.
So there's no additional information on those things? Because I sat in with Dr. Zamora when we went over all that.
We don't have those numbers prepared yet for tonight. So this is the numbers we have that we presented to you at the last meeting we had.
How much longer? How much longer do y'all need?
We were planning on presenting those. We were anticipating the board meeting being on the 4th Monday, and I think we just didn't anticipate this meeting happening tonight. So that's our miscommunication, that we misunderstood the date of this presentation.
So you'll have the other numbers by the next board meeting?
Yes, sir. We can make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. you very much.
So the last thing on information is our emergency operations plan, which the campuses have updated. And Mr. Madrid is here to provide or answer any questions. It has been filed, and as you all know, the emergency operations plan is different than others in that a lot of the items in there are to maintain, they need to be maintained in secrecy.
Yeah, each campus, I guess 2 years ago, they revamped how the emergency operation plans came about, which I think stemmed from Senate Bill 11, which stemmed from certain mass school shootings in Texas. And so they were revamped, and we started working on them back then, and we just continued to edit them as we go along. This year, we did have to have 2 more district plans, and it was a communicable disease plan, and then a continuation of services plan in case something happened with Dr. Zamora or the board, what have you. So there is a plan in place for those 2 reasons. Part of the state requirements, and they've been submitted and approved. The emergency operations plans, like I said, those are very routine now, routine action item. The other 2 are new that we've had to work together to submit to the Texas School Safety Center, which have been approved.
Okay, so we're in compliance.
Yes, and if, of course, it's not public information due to the security information that's in those documents, but if any board member is wanted to look at them, Mrs. Olson has them in her office as well as we do every time.
Well, just being assured that things are in place, that's the main thing. Thank you all, appreciate it. That's important. Moving on to the action items. The board may elect to consider, discuss, table, approve, and or take action on any of these items under this section. First one is under A, donations to specified purpose FSISD high school band equipment. Dr. Zamora.
Thank you, sir. So Mr. Alvarado came forward with a letter informing us that Permian Basin Chevrolet dealers, specifically Amistad Motors of Fort Stockton, would like to donate $13,000 in a specified purpose donation. What that means is that they are requesting that this money be spent on certain things. That request is that the money be spent on the high school band instruments and audio equipment. If there are any questions, if not, I think this is pretty cut and dry. Very generous donation by Amistad Motors. I recommend that the board accept this donation.
We have a recommendation to accept the donation from Amistad Motors. Any questions, comments? Not, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the specified monetary donation as presented.
We have a motion by Flo to approve the specified monetary donation as presented. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sandy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is a resolution adopting criteria for redistricting and establishing the timeline. Dr. Zamora.
Thank you, sir. This is what Sarah Leon spoke to us earlier about, the resolution to adopt the criteria, and we've also worked at the timeline, knowing that now on the 1st of December at 6 p.m. we'll have that meeting, and then followed by a public hearing at our next board meeting to make the decision and set everything in order. This resolution has been reviewed, and it is in order. My recommendation is that the board approve the resolution for the criteria and for redistricting and establishing a timeline.
We have a recommendation that the board approve the resolution adopting criteria for redistricting and establish the timeline. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the resolution adopting criteria for redistricting and establishing the timeline.
A motion by Nacho to approve the resolution adopting criteria for redistricting and establishing the timeline. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ursula. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to appoint 2 representatives to the Board of Directors, Pegasus County Appraisal District. Dr. Zamora.
Sir, we have one representative who has served us well and would like to continue serving. That representative is Mr. Darren Hodges. We were looking for a second appointee as Mr. Ezel is finishing out his term. And after talking to members of the board and y'all talking amongst yourselves, I believe that we have at least one volunteer, and that is Mr. Dominguez. I have not had anybody else step forward to say that they would like to jump onto this, so it is my recommendation, unless there are any questions.
Anybody? No, for real, one more time.
They said it was an arm wrestling contest.
No comment there.
So we write in his name for now, and it is my recommendation that the board approve the resolution with Mr. Darren Hodges and Mr. Anastasio Dominguez as our representatives for the Pegasus County Appraisal District Board.
We have a recommendation that the board approve the resolution to appoint the selected individuals, Darren Hodges and Nacho Dominguez, as representatives to the Pegasus County Appraisal District. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the resolution appointing Darren Hodges and Nacho Dominguez to the Pegasus County Appraisal District.
We have a motion by Flo to approve the resolution to appoint the selected individuals, Darren Hodges and Nacho Dominguez, as representatives to the Pegasus County Appraisal District.
I'll second that.
Second by Andy. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries, 7-0. Next item is the purchase of real property, Spanish Trail Lodge. Dr. Zamora.
Yes, sir. So this is a discussion that we had at a previous board meeting. Since that time, we did have the property inspected. The home inspection was sent to each of you for review. Very minor things were pointed out, things such as toilets needing to be, tightened up, some caulking on windows, minor things. And since that time that the board authorized me to negotiate a price, we were able to negotiate a price of $705,000 for the purchase of the Spanish Lodge, to include all except their personal furniture that is within the home, and that does include the furniture for every room, the 3 storage containers, and the RV unit that is on the side, coming with the deal, as well as all of the outdoor furniture, barbecue pits, etc. If any questions on the property, I know that some of you had the opportunity to go and check it out, and at least it was voiced to me that you were impressed by the level that they had gone to update the place in 2018, 2019. Questions on the property, you all know the reason why we're looking to do this. Had a meeting with the administrators at 5 o'clock before we came here, and in that meeting we talked about this evening's vote. And I want to say that when we went back and forth, the administrators were excited to be able to use this as something that they could dangle in front of prospective professional staff as we try to attract more individuals to join the district. If no questions, I recommend that we approve the purchase of the property.
We have a recommendation to approve the purchase of the property as presented by Dr. Simona. Any further discussion, comments? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the purchase of the property for $705,000 plus associated closing costs.
We have a motion by Andy to approve the purchase of the property for $705,000 plus associated closing costs. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Nacho. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is consider approving budget amendment. Dr. Samora.
Sir, this was placed here in case the board was so inclined as to vote to purchase that property. Ms. Maria is recommending that we make a budget amendment drawn out of fund balance $750,000. As you know, the price $750,000. As you know, the price is substantially below this, but that is to cover the associated costs that come with closing and to ensure that we are within the realm of where we need to be and not have to make a second budget amendment. Ms. Maria is here in case anyone has questions or concerns regarding this. If not, I recommend we approve her budget amendment as presented.
We have a recommendation to approve the budget amendment as presented. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the budget amendment as presented.
We have a motion by Flo to recommend to approve the budget amendment as presented. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Second by Fred. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Okay. Next item on the agenda is closed session. At this time, in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Subchapter D and E of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, The board will now enter into a closed meeting to deliberate subjects listed on this agenda authorized in subchapter D. Any final action, decision, or vote on a subject deliberated in the closed meeting will be taken in an open meeting held in compliance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. A, consultation with district legal counsel in connection with the redistricting process under 551.071. B, personally identifiable information about the public school students under 551.0821. C, discuss the employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee under 551.074. And D, consultation with the attorney under 551.071. It is now 7 p.m.
This is daylight savings time.
Daylight savings, yeah. You can't be sick. We started at 7.
Going back in time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I certainly can. Sounds good. I think between 9 and 10 now. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, we're back in regular session and it's 8:40. For the record, that clock's still in the same place. But anyway, still wrong. Anyway. Anything else, Dr. Samora? We've got going.
No, sir.
If not, future meetings, when's our next board meeting? December 1st. Well, is the workshop on December the 1st?
And then we have the 13th as regular meeting, sir.
December 13th is regular meeting. Okay, okay.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, any questions from the media? Or- No questions? All right. 8:40.
Hey, unofficial, y'all are invited to my daughter's quince on the 27th. Go over there and have some fun. Eat brisket. So.
Y'all have a good Thanksgiving. Thank you all.